G'day there guys, still wondering why I bear a striking resemblance to my mailman here? It's your man Markee and welcome back to another episode of r/AmiTheA. Now if you love today's episode, I want you to chuck a like on this video, sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and enjoy the bloody good content. Thank you. Posted by user Recovered Altruist. Titled, Am I the a-hole for refusing to help my sister with her special needs child? I used to be 220 pounds. I am 5'2", so I looked terrible. I was once really active, but I went through a breakup, started a close relationship with emotional eating, and plumped up. C19 happened, and I worried being overweight would kill me if I got sick. My sister shares custody of her 10-year-old son Alex with her husband. When everything shut down, Alex was staying with his dad. He was there for the majority of everything and only recently returned home. This is where issues have started because Alex has special needs and things have changed since he left. I used to do the main cooking for everyone and it would be delicious foods made with butter. I am a good cook, but I stopped making food like that. I now eat mostly chicken, broccoli, veggies, and rice. I make a lot of soups and I drink smoothies. Alex hates everything I make because he has texture issues. He doesn't like chicken unless it's a nugget. He won't touch most veggies. He doesn't like soup I make because it isn't from a can or salty. I am down to 160 from 220 and look heaps better. I am happier. I am also working outside the home now, walking my dog more and not home a lot. When I do get home, I go to bed at 9 PM because I'm exhausted and need to wake up at 5 AM to do everything I need to get done. Work out, make breakfast, lunch, walk the dogs, commute to work. Last night, my sister sat me down and said she wanted to talk to me about Alex. Alex was having meltdowns every evening when I didn't make him dinner like I used to. Jenny wants me to go back to making meals for Alex again. I have told her I don't have time, and while I love my nephew, I am also working on myself and my health. I wouldn't mind cooking the old food for Alex, but he also wants me to eat with him at 9 PM, and I am putting my foot down. While I did help a lot with Alex before, that was due to having the time. I now don't have the time to be a parent to her child. I spend time with him on the weekends, but I have told her that when the pandemic ends, I intend to move closer to my work. Our lease ends in 6 months. She has told me that she doesn't think she can handle Alex on her own, and that he refuses to do certain things unless I do them for him. I am not home to do them, or I am conked out asleep. I am working 3 times as much now as I was before, I have mad stress, and I just don't have the urge to raise her child for her because it's easier. I love the kid, but I have told my sister that my stress level has gone down now that I have good sleep, good eats, and good exercise. Am I the a-hole? No, pretty easy one. It's her child to raise. Not your child, not your problem. Yes, you were generous with your time and with your service to the kid, but ultimately it's not your duty to step in as a second mother to this kid. He doesn't deserve your time, and you're not an a-hole for subtracting yourself from his life. Unfortunately, as she is the mother, it is her responsibility to fill that void that you have left. Nothing you are doing is malicious or has malicious intent. You are looking out for yourself, and I support that. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole? First of all, congratulations on your weight loss and change to healthy lifestyle. Do not let anyone sabotage your efforts and plans to move forward with your life. Alex is solely your sister's responsibility. You can be a loving aunt, but you are not responsible for making his meals or his well-being. Why is your sister not cooking for him? Again, I stress that you should not change your lifestyle or your life for your sister or your nephew. Just say no. She is cooking for him, he just wants my food. He also eats way later than my sister wants him to, so there is a fight when I am not home, because he wants to eat late at night, and she needs him in bed by a certain time so she can sleep for her own work. Her ex-husband works from home, so they just feed him whenever he is hungry. I would be up later because I worked very low hours for a time, and 9 PM was like 6 PM for me. I slept late. Now I am in bed by 8:30 or 9 PM. I go for a long walk, I eat something quick and easier to make, and he wants me to get up, make him complicated meals, and then has another meltdown when my door is locked and I am deeply asleep. He is also upset my dog comes to work with me, because he thought my dog was his dog. It's pretty complicated, and my sister resents that I'm just living my life without being too worried about the fits. In my opinion, I am not doing anything wrong. The child is not yours, so yes, you are living your life. She chose to have a child, and you get what you get. I chose to have a child at 18. My life was very different than those of my classmates. But it's a life I chose. She has to learn to live with what she's got. Her and her ex-husband really need to look into some sort of respite care, or she has to speak with her ex-husband to see how they can handle this. But that's on them, not you, so just keep on doing what you gotta do. So basically, here's what I'm reading. Kid is special needs, sister never bothered enforcing proper boundaries or routines with him, so he developed his own. This period of development happened to respond to your own personal crash and burn plus low work. And because he was receiving so little input from your sister, he bonded with you and your routine became his routine. And then you changed things to better yourself, and because of this, his routine changed. And your sister, who never learned how important routine and boundaries are to someone with special needs, is now put out because the hole she dug for herself is now too deep to get out of without a lot of work and possibly professional intervention. Ultimately, the problem here is that your sister did not fill a very necessary void in her son's life, which you did fill only because your routine and lifestyle were unhealthy, and it was easier for her to let her special needs son develop unhealthy habits than it was to enforce the healthy ones. The food issues. She could have enforced that you don't share your food with him and avoided letting him develop unhealthy tastes in the first place, or provided alternatives to the unhealthy meals that fit his food issues. She chose not to. The late nights. She could and should have enforced bedtime rules, made putting him to bed at XY time a routine, been consistent, and refused to allow him to interact with you past his bedtime, to the point of asking you to go to bed at the same hour. She chose not to do that. She could have enforced ownership rules about the dog. There are a lot of small behaviors she should have been either discouraging or supporting that would have allowed her son to have a healthy, stable routine, working with his disabilities and sensory issues, coming to compromises, and above all, enforcing boundaries so that he never had to suffer a sudden change in his expectations when one person in his life shifts gears. She chose instead to shove all of that interaction onto you because it was easier. And while that was a moderately unfair thing to do to you, it is an enormous deal to her child, who was dependent on her for guidance, and who was failed in a fairly profound way. Posted by user False Tackle 5707. Titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my wife that if she doesn't want me in the delivery room, she can find someone else to drive her to the hospital? I can add more information if people need or want it, but I'll try to only include what I think is relevant. My wife is pregnant and has told me that she wants her sister in the delivery room. She has only allowed one person, so this means I'm out and won't be with her when she gives birth to our baby. It would be an understatement to say that I was disappointed, crushed, hurt, etc., when she told me that this is what she was thinking. I had been excited about being there with her and experiencing that moment ever since she told me she was pregnant. Really, even since we started trying to get pregnant. I just always assumed that she would want me there. Note the distinction here between me expecting to be there versus expecting her to want me there. I am pointing this out because what's worse than the disappointment is her rejecting me and basically telling me that she feels like someone else could give her better support while giving birth. That's really made me feel like a POS and a worthless husband and father. I've tried not to take it to heart or personally, but I don't know how else to take that kind of rejection. It doesn't help that she's really given no reason for why she feels like her sister would do a better job of supporting her. I know that her sister has kids herself, but when I asked my wife if that was the part of it, she said not really. I then asked her if I had done something wrong or failed in some way, or if she was upset with me. And she said that it wasn't anything I had done, and she wasn't trying to punish me. She just felt like it would be better to have her sister there. I've asked for clarifications, and that's as specific as she gets. It doesn't seem like she has a real list of reasons why her sister was chosen. It's just a feeling. Either that, or she is lying to me and won't give me the real reason. I had hoped she had changed her mind, but she's now confirmed this is how it will be. All of the things I've written about led me to tell her that if she really feels that way, then I think it'd be better if her sister or someone else drove her to the hospital. Otherwise, I'm just her taxi driver. Once she realized that I was serious, she lost it and told me that I was acting like a child and pouting. I can accept that it's her choice, but if she doesn't want my support in the delivery room, then why would she want it on the way to the hospital or at any other time? That's illogical. So there is no point in me doing that either. She decided to go stay with her family for a few days, and since she has, I am being constantly bombarded by both sides of the family and friends of ours telling me to let this go and stop being an a-hole. I know they are trying to help, but I don't think they understand the situation and just want it resolved so they can all feel better. Just looking to confirm if I am as bad as they think I am. I'll just go right off the bat and say if everywhere around you smells like crap, again, look right under your shoes, OP. I think you misinterpret what a marriage and a partnership is. Yes, she doesn't think you could be as supportive as other people in the room would be, but that's not a personal insult to you. A lot of people are happy just being outside of the delivery room and not being there to witness it, because that's the personal wish of the person having a baby. And I know both sides should have a say, but I feel like this might be one of those exceptions where it's better to just let her have her say, because you don't want to be stressing her out too much and not giving her the most ideal conditions for a birth. Feel like you're being an a-hole by pushing that boundary, and now you're being a baby by not taxiing them as a partner would, because that's a polite thing to do. And I dare say expected in a marriage. You're the a-hole. Edit. I appreciate the comments, even the ones that were harsh. But, as it turns out, this post is moot. After talking with some of you last night, I reached out to my wife this morning about the state of things in our relationship. Mostly, I wanted to know if she was planning to come home anytime soon. She said that she wasn't, as I had suspected. She confirmed what I'd guessed, which is that she had no plans to come back anytime soon, so someone in her family will be driving her anyway. I'm not really upset by that. I still feel it's for the best, and I think she does too. We'll see what happens after the baby is born, but I don't think it's likely we'll stay together. And given our differences and differing views on marriage, that may be for the best anyway. I feel like our relationship has run its course, and we are not a good fit for each other. I had already contacted a divorce attorney just to discuss a possible separation, and things that I might need to do to prepare for divorce. So I'll go ahead and start making plans, assuming we're divorcing. I probably will end up doing a paternity test so I can confirm the baby is actually mine, since some of you are saying that you don't believe it is. Anyway, I'm just going to read some of the comments, because why not? Spicy Must Flow says, "You are not an a-hole for wanting to be there the moment your child is born. You are a huge a-hole for punishing her by saying she can find her own ride to the hospital and that you'll withhold other support on the day. Before you downvote me, read what he said again. Things are obviously different because it's a friggin' pandemic. Now, a patient only gets one support person. Maybe your wife has good reasons for wanting her sister there. Maybe she feels she'll get better support from someone who listens to what she, the woman in labor, wants. Someone who won't get pissy and petty if things don't go their way. It's only very recently in history that fathers were even allowed in the delivery room no matter what they wanted. You can do your best to explain why you feel you have the right to be there, and more importantly, that you'll be the right person to support your wife. But if you carry out your threats to make her find her own way to the hospital and sulk because you're not in the room, then you will most definitely be proving her point, and also, you're the a-hole. In my opinion, the fact that he's punishing her by saying he won't drive her to the hospital while she's in labor shows exactly why she doesn't want him in there. You're the a-hole, by the way. That's exactly my point. A lot of commenters here are focusing on how he should be in the room. It's a magical moment, it's his baby too, etc., etc. Very few are noticing his crappy response. Well then, clearly you don't need my support, so find your own way to the hospital. I can't believe people aren't picking up on that and are calling the wife immature. The way to support a woman in labor is by asking what she wants and doing your best to make it happen, not by being a pissy baby before the actual baby shows up, in my opinion. Posted by user Admiral Professor 81, titled, "Am I the a-hole for suing my sister over a poster my sister's son destroyed?" My sister brought her kids over 2 weeks ago. In my office, I have a vintage Marvel poster signed by Stan Lee and the artists of the poster. The poster is over 30 years old. Her son saw this and thought it was really neat and wanted me to give it to him. I tried being diplomatic, but let him know that that wouldn't happen. For certain reasons, my office door locks behind me and you need keys to open it. This is important. Fast forward the next day, we're going to the park and I can't find my keys. We're looking around the house and I hear her daughter yell out, "Oh no!" And my sister and I go running. Her son has opened my office and climbed on the desk to get the poster down. In doing it, he managed to tear it in half. I am furious. This poster is not only irreplaceable, I got it signed with my now deceased grandfather. It has a lot of sentimental value for me. My sister completely blew this off. Hell, she even started giggling when her daughter said, "Oh no," the second time because she thought it sounded cute. She didn't offer me anything, even an apology. Her argument is that I should have had my own keys on me because I should have somehow expected that her son would try to take it down from the wall. Dad and wife are firmly in my camp. Dad recognized how important this was to me because it was only a few days before he suddenly passed away and was the last thing we did together. My mom and stepsister are acting like it's no big deal. Sister ghosted me when I texted her asking about compensating me for the poster. In case anyone is wondering, when we moved into my house, we had the poster appraised at $3,000 due to the condition and rarity of this particular poster. I was informed after Stanley's death, it went up, but we didn't have it reappraised. This particular one does go on eBay, and unsigned, fetches north of $2,000. When I served her, my mum called me up telling me that it was no big deal, and she said she found another poster on eBay, and when I saw the link, I realized it was completely different and wasn't signed or anything like that. It wasn't even the same year. Now my sister is complaining to mum that I'm being mean for going after her and not taking her offer and instead making her pay for it. She thinks I should just let this go because kids will be kids. So am I the a-hole here? Edit, since this has been raised in a few comments, yes, the poster was framed. It was professionally mounted in a frame, it was not tacked to a wall or anything like that. This is entirely your sister's fault and the sister's kid's fault. You had it framed and you had it in a room that locked itself afterwards. The kids let curiosity kill the cat in this case, and, in turn, kills the sister's bank account and her credibility, I assume. This is just one of the many things that come along with being a parent. That would be the fallout of the mistakes of your children. And I would say this is a pretty hefty price to pay. She definitely could have been keeping tabs on the kids better, and yeah, you could have put the key in a better spot and had it on you, but it's your house, and there's a reasonable expectation that people aren't going to go into that room that locks itself. I don't think anything you're doing in this situation, trying to get compensation or a replacement, makes you the a-hole. It makes you justified in your beliefs and your actions, not the a-hole. Not the a-hole, she is 100% responsible for her son's behavior. I don't care if it was even on the floor of your office. Her kid was old enough to be sneaky and go around all of the normal security that you had in place. I mean, if OP had left his super valuable poster on the floor and then it got damaged by guests unintentionally, that would be a lot more reasonable. I think the big issue here is how much of an a-hole the sister is being about OP's property and feelings. It would be one thing if she had been mortified and genuinely apologetic. At that point, I'd be pretty hesitant to sue your own family. But she's showing no consideration for OP's feelings, no empathy, not even a sorry? Not the a-hole. Not really, since the office door was locked and the kid had to literally steal the keys to get in. This. If it was on the floor, leaned up against the wall in a locked room that only OP should have access to in his own house, then it has the same expectation of being destroyed by guests as it would if it were framed and hanging on the wall in the living room. OP, not the a-hole. It seems obvious that your mum didn't teach your sister responsibility for her actions, and in turn, your sister didn't teach it to her son. Since your sister has no care about the damage, and even thought her son breaking into your office was funny, a lawsuit is the least she could expect if she didn't pay up. I'd let her know that alternatively, you could go through your homeowner's insurance, but that you'd have to file a police report and charges, which you don't want to do because they have family and here's a kid. But that's the only alternative. Yup, and I would frame it in unambiguous terms. Your son stole my keys to enter a locked room with the intention of stealing an item worth over $3,000, and in the attempt, destroyed it. This is not kids will be kids territory. This is, in a few years, if he keeps it up, he will be in jail territory. Posted by user Self-Destructing Taco. Titled, Am I the a-hole for not wanting to call my second grade's teacher Dr. Smith? I have a son in the second grade who is in a public school in the US that is in fully remote. During the first week of school, I listened in on class. My son's teacher, whom had signed the only email we had from her as Dr. Sarah Smith, told the kids, "My name is Dr. Sarah Smith, but you don't need to call me doctor, because I know that can be confusing because I'm not a medical doctor. So you can just call me Sarah, Miss Sarah, or Miss Smith. Our school's norm is calling teachers and staff by their first name." I filed this info away for my own self and went on with my day. A few days later, all the teachers met with the families to get to know each other. My son's teacher came into the call and introduced herself as Dr. Sarah Smith. She was quite the talker and spent a lot of time talking about her background and credentials, but seemed pleasant and excited about her job. Near the end, I asked, "Miss Sarah, can we still access the school library?" And she said, "Actually, it's Dr. Smith." I was taken aback because I had recalled her telling my son's class that they could call her Miss Sarah. I couldn't figure out how to respond and felt rushed, so I quickly apologized for getting her name wrong and we signed off. Meanwhile, as I've been helping my son with his work, I've been noticing how she signs her messages to the students with Miss Sarah and Dr. Sarah Smith with the parents. In the classes, the students were calling her both Sarah and Miss Sarah. I was confused. Fast forward to this week when we had our second parent-teacher meeting. Once again, my son's teacher jumped headlong into our meeting without much greeting and spent much of the time talking. When I finally had the chance to speak, I once again addressed her as Miss Sarah, and she once again corrected me saying, "Actually, it's Dr. Smith." So I said, "I'm glad this came up because I've overheard you say to the students that they can call you Miss Sarah, and my son refers to you as that at home, so that's where my confusion is coming from." She replied, "With parents, I prefer to be called Dr. Smith." And then she steamrolled on until it was time to go. Now, I feel certain she's just power tripping here. I don't want to feed her ego, nor continue creating confusion in our house when my kid talks about his teacher, Miss Sarah, and I'm talking to him about Dr. Smith. Yes, I'm an a-hole for thinking, is the doctor really warranted here? We are just dealing with teaching a bunch of 8-year-olds how to capitalize proper nouns and what division is. But I get there was likely more to her degree than that, and I can put that all aside when it comes to being respectful and honoring people's wishes. However, all of this had made me feel like just referring to her generally from here on out. So folks, am I missing out on some cultural norm here? Am I the a-hole here for not wanting to call her Dr. Smith and feeling like she's being egotistical? I feel like it's up to you to make those distinctions with your child. I feel like you're kind of the one power tripping here, starting unnecessary conflict. She's stated twice already that she wants to be referred to as Dr. Smith by you, and then she headlong steamrolls into continuing the important part of the interaction, which is the education of your child. I know your intention of this post isn't to put out, hey, the education is second to this problem because this problem is huge, but she's already made it very much clear that she would rather be called Dr. Smith. And you're an adult, and you can make that difference when talking to your kid about it because she is not there. You can probably call her Miss Sarah. No one cares. No one cares but you. Stop calling her Miss Sarah when she's already told you twice not to do it. You're just being a dickhead at this point. You're the a-hole. Update. Okay, I'm found to be the a-hole, and I'm okay with that. In fact, I had a chance to address her this morning, and I called her Dr. Smith the way she had respectfully asked me to twice. I can see that I wasn't being respectful, and yes, a bit of a petulant child. I will say that it was interesting that most of the not the a-holes were also PhDs, people who worked with them. I had a similar experience, so now I can see where my confusion was in the cultural aspect of it. Thanks people of Reddit for weighing in, and for mostly keeping it civil. You're the a-hole. People work hard to get their doctorate. That is her title. Of course she knows that second graders would have trouble with that, but you yourself, as an adult, should know how to use proper titles with people. This so much. This post basically comes down to, why can't I treat my 8-year-old's teacher the same way he does? It's really not confusing. It's more like, why can't this adult professional treat me like an 8-year-old? Why does this adult professional expect more from me than my 8-year-old? Plus, Dr. Smith already explained in the beginning that she has the title of doctor to her students, and she explained all the ways they can refer to her as, so it's not really confusing. You're the a-hole. She clearly told the children to call her Miss Sarah or Miss Smith, because they're second graders and wouldn't understand the difference between a PhD doctor and an MD doctor. You, however, are a fully grown adult with a second grade child and can differentiate between a medical doctor and a PhD. To refuse to call her by her earned title is belittling, rude, and unappreciative of her commitment to education that she will now use to educate your children in ways that they would otherwise not be able to receive. Grow up and call the woman by the title she earned. She's already proven that she is qualified in that field by people much more knowledgeable in that field than you. She doesn't need to prove it to you too. Also, the line about just teaching 8-year-olds hit me different. Like, dude, do you know how hard that crap is? It's not common knowledge to teach people how to read. A master's or a doctorate is definitely warranted for this job. And this is probably the reason she makes parents call her Dr. Smith. Alright, I think that's where I'm going to end today's video, guys. I do hope you enjoyed it. As always, I want to do a huge shout out to all my channel members and Patreon subscribers. You should be up on the screen now. I love you all, and I think every single one of you are amazing for supporting the channel in the way that you do. Again, thank you so much for supporting me. And again, if you did enjoy today's video, please do tell me what you thought of it down in the comments below. All of your hot takes, opinions, whatever you think, really, whatever's going on in your life right now, I I'd love to hear down in the comments below. Before I leave, I'd also like to announce that I'm going to start doing meme content again on the second channel. I know it's been a while, so click on the Markee head on the screen without the Australian flag behind him if you want to go see some memes. And as always guys, have a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.